Good evening, everybody. This is kind of
Good.
something new. We're doing an evening live stream, huh? I'm still drinking coffee, though, because I usually like to drink coffee before I go to sleep. So there's that. So, anyways, of course, I have my co host, Elam, here, and I have somebody that I've known for a really, really long time. Her name is Liz Hershberger. She's an author. She was born Amish. She wrote a book. It's recently been published. So, let me tell you a few things about Liz. I met Liz because I was going through court cases. And she did something. She reached out to the DA's office and then left her contact information. And I will tell you, like, a few people did that, but that was one of the scariest things ever. And the thing is Liz was one of those people who came to court when there were a gazillion Amish people there. She was an advocate in a time that I don't even think she knew what she was doing. So, anyways, she introduced me to her family. She had a disabled son, and the way she treated her son was like the complete opposite of what I saw my disabled brothers being treated as. And it was just mind blowing. And there was another time we had this conversation in the car. We were riding along, and she spoke, and it was like, oh my God, Liz has a story to tell. And today, Liz has published that story. So everybody say hi to Liz.
Hi, Lizzy.
Hey,
Welcome to the
there.
welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Thanks. This is my first YouTube live, so
How are you
I think
feeling?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I have coffee, even though it's evening.
Well,
Evening where I'm at, yeah.
sometimes you just need coffee,
Or tea, yeah.
you know, or tea.
Yeah.
Oh, Lindsay says hello, and she says we love you, Liz. Aww.
She's, oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
She's from Minnesota, so she's very nice. She's listening.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You bring your own fans, Lizzy? Wow.
Well, of course she did. She's like, I got my own people watching me. Did the bishop approve that?
Speaking of Bishop, I've been wondering how long it's going to take my bishop in this area to tell his members to not read my book because it's too fiery.
Can you translate that for our viewers that don't understand?
How would you say that, Elam? You translate.
You're going to lead them astray.
And they might learn the truth, yeah.
Denkst du, das ist abstellen?
Yeah.
Oh, he's probably going to ban the book. She thinks he's going to ban the book.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, how does it feel having finally published your story?
You know, it's really a good feeling. There was so much anticipation of, leading right up to it. I was, you always think you could always back out and just not do it or wait for better timing. That I think I used that a lot. I thought the timing just isn't right. Let's wait for a better time. And eventually I said, you know what? My family is ready and I'm ready. So we hit publish and it went. So that is how it went. And the outpouring of support has really taken me by surprise. I expected a lot of backlash immediately for publishing something that has as many details as I put in my book about how I grew up Amish. But I can tell you, as of now, I've gotten zero negative feedback.
Wow!
And it's just.
That's incredible.
It is really. It really shows that people, I think, were ready to like, lots of people in our area anyways knew part of the story, but they never knew the whole story. And I'm just so glad that I came forward, and the reviews that people have been sending me. I mean, oh my goodness. I'm just so thankful that I decided to do it because it is helping people. And it's just, people realize that you can heal from things like trauma that and sometimes we think that we have so much healing to do yet. But my goodness, me and you, Mary, both know we have come a long ways from the day we met. A long ways, yeah.
You could definitely say that
Yeah. Mhm.
and say it again.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we've definitely come a long ways. I think we've also learned like a lot of things, like how to talk to people. So sometimes when you're, talking to people, because I know you do, and I know I do. I don't know about Elam. I think he just sits there and holds up the chair.
Hey, the chair's holding me up.
Oh man. But I know we get like a lot of people sometimes, and sometimes it feels like there's just a lot of people that really need help. And did you have like things you wanted to say about like how to talk to them appropriately? Because aren't you a victim witness or a victim advocate?
Yes, I've volunteered with victim services in our area, and I took the training twice now. That's required to do that, and it really helped me just know how to talk to survivors or victims, whatever you want to call them. And your volunteering is, we have a 24-hour hotline, and then people call in, and you don't know who you're talking to. You just, you find out, how you can help them and find them resources. And I really know that in the beginning, let's say when I met Mary, I didn't know how to talk to another survivor. I just like tried to be their friend. I didn't know, but I know that I sometimes probably said the wrong thing. But the thing that you really, it's just to be there and listen. And that's so hard to do. Sometimes you want to ask all these questions, but it's not appropriate. It's up to the victim or the survivor to share any detail they want to, or as little as they want to. You're just there to listen and offer any kind of support or help. And sometimes you can find resources for them. There's lots of resources out there.
Mhm.
And make sure that you tell them that you believe them. I mean, that's the biggest thing I think I tried to talk about in my book, is that when I realized somebody might believe me because I wasn't believed at 14. So now I make sure that when I talk to anybody, I tell them that I believe them, and I just try to listen to their stories and.
I think the way you talked to me was, I would describe it as extremely veiled. And it was like some of the things that you said were really, you had compassion,
Mm.
but there was some like ways of like, it was almost like, when you talk like, when you speak English as an Amish person, and it's kind of like double meanings. It's not really like, it was kind of like that, like it was really veiled. But it was like you also listened. You did a lot of listening.
Mhm. And learning, yes,
And then I got that phone call one day from Liz, and she starts telling me her story and how she's going through this court case. And the thing is she wasn't alone in that courtroom, and that's important. That is
very,
really,
very,
really important. Because
very.
when communities send all of these people to come
Mhm.
up there and they kind of make a production show out of the courtroom, it's really horrifying, and it is not okay.
It
But yeah.
isn't. It's and I know, Mary, you couldn't come to the court case, but I know you would have if you could have for me. But I did
Mhm.
have a lot of people there, and what I found interesting is um, there was a plea bargain made, so he did not have to go to trial. But every court date that there was, the courtroom would, like, half of it's supposed to be for his supporters and half would be for my side. They would always spill over into the other side because they had more people. But on the day of sentencing, there was probably only a dozen people that came, because see, they thought that when they were there ahead of time and we're going to try to sway the judge and show him that he has all this support, that he's this good, decent Amish man that should not get punished for a crime that he committed. So they didn't. Why didn't they show up the day of his actual sentencing? I believe it was because they knew I was going to read an impact statement and they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear what I have to say. So that was a lot of it. Probably also why I decided to write my book is I decided if they were going to come and listen on other days, but not when I read my impact statement, that I'm going to make it public and that they can choose to read it or not. Because they just, Amish should think that they can push their weight around, and especially when it comes in these cases where they'll just try to deal with their, in their own church, they deal with it, and they're not dealing with it. If they would be dealing with it correctly, we would not have the unbelievable amount of victims that are coming forward right now. I mean, it is just, I've never seen anything like it is right now. I mean, there's just victims coming out everywhere and talking about their stories, and
it's just horrific.
It is. And I remember Mary's, and I thought, I don't think I'll ever hear a case as bad as yours, Mary. But
Seymour, Missouri.
It really was when I went. Yes. So.
Oh my God. No.
That was horrible. And I went down there to that, and I still, I asked a relative today on that case to see if there's any updates on that girl. And what we're talking about is a girl got impregnated by her brother, and she had a baby.
And
13 years
she
old?
was 13 or 14. Okay. And the part that just quite frankly infuriates me is this DA sat there, and I kid you not, he didn't even defend, he didn't even try to get them for anything. He only prosecuted 2 of the rapists. That's one. Secondly, when he went to court, he legitimately sat there and advocated for the rapists to not go to prison because they're Amish and they're disabled and they're this and they're that, and maybe they're not as smart as the others. Okay, have a mental eval ordered, have a psych eval ordered, and send them off to a psych facility. If they're a danger to society like that, do the appropriate thing and stop giving them leniency because they're Amish. Oops.
Amish
sorry.
are just people. Amish are just people. There are very, very good. There's very good Amish people. I grew up with lots of them that were wonderful to me. I have great memories. But there's a couple bad apples, and the thing is just that they've been getting away with it for generation after generation. So it just keeps going until somebody says, this is it. I'm not going to keep putting up with this, and I'm not going to keep hiding your secrets because they need to be dealt with.
And I think that, if you start thinking about how it was for my case, and then, you actually had been out, 15 years when I got out, right? And my case happened. So my case was 17 years ago, and your case ended about 2 years ago. Is that right?
Year and a half.
Okay. But even so, if you start looking at that, the trajectory has been, it's every year, and especially with the development of the Plain People's podcast and some of the articles that have been being published, there's a lot more awareness. There's a lot more conversation around it. And so maybe people outside of the community will understand that they are just people. And there's some bad people in every group of people.
And there's a lot more resources. Like you said, a lot more resources, and a lot more of us that are banding together and helping each other and standing up for and saying, we're not going to stand here and let, especially with victim blaming. I mean, that was huge. Everything just gets, pushed on the victim. I was told, it's just over and over, it was my fault. What happened to me, it was my fault. Even if I was 14 years old, and, we can go back, I started, I can't ever remember a time that I wasn't getting abused. That wasn't my fault. Absolutely, I did nothing to deserve it. I did nothing to entice it or anything. I mean, it's just ludicrous if anybody thinking that, that's right to blame the victim who's 14 and, in my case, and he was 28 and married with 4 children. I mean, I don't know how anybody even thinks that this is correct. I mean,
and here's another thing is, didn't they and don't they, haven't you ever heard them label it as you're having an affair with that married man, and then they label you as the outcast because you were the victim of rape.
Yep. Yep.
I'm so sorry they did that to you. That is so not okay.
Well,
I want our viewers to know this is like when I read Lizzy's book, one of the things that I felt is I'm not alone in feeling like my community abandoned me and some of my family. I just want everybody to know that. Oh, let's get some comments going on. I'm so glad, Lavina Martin. I get to watch this live, sending love. Aww. Sarah says that's just bull crap how the Amish do that and support the perverts. Yeah, I'm with you, Sarah.
There's a good word. Yeah, I mean,
I'm with you.
Sorry, that's what they are. I mean, and it's just been happening for all these years, and I think one of the things I want to be clear is, this happened in my community that I was growing up, and from what I've learned is every community tends to have a certain kind of a major problem, and the problem in our area that has been happening over and over and over, and how many girls I've talked to where they're a hired girl and the husband there, or the man, feels like he has the right to rape them. I mean, and it is not it's not appropriate. And then it always gets classed, like you said, as an extramarital affair. And number one, an extramarital affair is a sin too in the Amish. So, you know what I mean? But let's get it correct here and see how it is.
They don't even hold the perpetrator accountable half the time. And so
shunning for 6 weeks, yeah.
I mean, but is shunning really, is that really going to prevent somebody from continuing to be a perpetrator of abuse?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Not unless they get help. Now, I'm not saying that there's definitely cases that I know they've gotten rehabilitated, but not on your own and not just in the Amish church holding them accountable. That is not going to...
It's...
Agreed. You can't. It's a disease. You can't just get over that. And the other thing I think that people tend to think sometimes it maybe happens once, it'll never happen again. Well, that's...
I'm gonna laugh at you. You're delusional.
Yeah,
that's just delusional.
And even if it just happens once, it's still wrong. You need to get help for it, and you need to take care of your problem. So anyway,
and also it's a crime. Thanks. Julie Erickson says, "Hi, Lizzy."
Hi, Julie. Awesome.
Hi, Julie. Oh, this is Lindsay again. She says, "Way to stand up, ladies, and make a difference."
Yes, thank you. We did not know when I reached out to Mary. I had no idea where this would all go, but I was appalled when I read Mary's story in the newspaper, and that's when I reached out, and we've just remained friends, and we are, we're just trying to be out there and be a voice. There's so many others that are out there also, and we're here to help each other and bring awareness and do what we can. So
just try to change things.
Educate yourself, and really educate yourself. So what's your next question, Elam? Do you have a question for me?
We still have more comments.
He's trying to not let you get a word in.
That's cool.
My community turned against me as well. It's horrible.
So, and I want to say,
I'm so sorry, but you're not alone.
And we talk about the Amish being, I know what happens in non-Amish communities too, and it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. The victim blaming, it's just, I just don't understand. Like, I just can't, I don't know why.
Do you think that the victim blaming was worse than the actual physical abuse?
I don't know if it was worse, but it just about equals, because that abandonment and the nobody believes you, and that you're already hurting and traumatized, and then you have that on top where you question yourself whether you're just, are you really crazy? You know what I mean? And they make you think like you're having nerve problems, especially in my case, it's all nerve problems, mental problems.
You be snappy. Let me translate that. You're just nerve problems, mental problems, something like that.
And in my case, they took me somewhere to a place where they were taking a lot of Amish people whenever they were having any kind of issues. And my parents took me there to get me help. And they put me on some kind of pills. Now, I still don't know to this day what it was. I don't know. I just know that they made me sleepy. So exactly what it was, I don't know. But it was not the correct place to take me. Obviously, they should have, number one, taken me to the police station or a hospital. But they didn't neither, but yet they try to just take you to a facility and get it all covered up and make you forget about it and never talk about it again. So,
Because if you never talk about it again, it never happened, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. We've got a lot of people talking to you, Lizzy.
Okay.
Love you guys. I was so excited when I saw you guys were live. What a breath of fresh air to hear people who speak truth. Thank you so much, Marlene.
Thank you. That is very nice.
Judge Me Unforgiven says this is disgusting. Sarah says, but where did they rehabilitate? Somewhere in the Amish or professional help? Well, generally, when people get prosecuted for their crimes, they go through a rehabilitation program.
But, and I don't know if she was referring to professional help. Like, I was never taken to a counselor, like a legal counselor or anything like that for help either. They just want everything hidden, and they just don't, everybody, when you're the community I was in, anybody on the outside was a bad person. I mean, you just want to keep everything inside and everything closed off, and you put up this huge front, like everything's okay, everything's fine. You don't talk. Like you just, so to me, I was, basically, it never even occurred to me to go to the police or something, because I thought they were all bad people, that they would never be here to help me, that they're, they put me in jail or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it had this horrible
life behind blue curtains, right? I made curtains today. I finished those curtains. I made these really, really light see-through blue curtains. I bet your bishop would have some words to say about that.
My mom, I have them in my book. My mom got in so much trouble for her curtains. I have no idea. They just, and think about it, it was curtains. You know what I mean? Pick on her about curtains, and she just is like, I don't know. Goodness.
Yeah.
Is that your daughter that has a comment?
Yes, that is, this is Elam's daughter. Elam, you should read this.
Yes,
you should read this, Elam.
Martin.
I'm so glad you've been able to tell your story too. And your story broke something inside me I didn't know could be broken. And the abandonment was just so, I just couldn't fathom the degree of abandonment. And I'm so glad you survived and you're telling your story and you're helping other survivors. You're an incredibly strong woman, and we're so lucky and grateful to have you.
Thank you. Many times, it's not like I feel strong all the time. I can tell you that. There's no way. You just, many times, there's days I didn't want to get out of bed. And I always say, thank goodness I had children. If I didn't have kids, sometimes I wouldn't have had to get up for days. I would have just stayed in bed, and, who knows what would have happened to me. But thankfully, I had kids at a very young age, and I did everything, for my kids to protect them, because I did not want them to have to ever suffer the way I did. Like, I was just, oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm probably more than a helicopter mom. I was very, very overprotective. And that was also the reason I wanted to write my book, because my kids didn't know what had happened to me. And they always wondered why I was so overprotective. And they understand now, and, it totally makes sense to them. And, so now they know the rest of the story.
Lizzy, I just want to point out that you talk about your children saved you. Now, I was 22 when my child was born, but my child saved me as well. I can tell you with certainty, I don't think I would be alive today if I hadn't had a child. There's so many things that happened that just kept me alive. It's like I'm supposed to be here. So I'm trying to use this to do something, and I see you doing that same thing. You're trying to use this to do something to make a difference.
Make life better. Just, I'm not, in no ways ever am I even close to a perfect mom, but I was just trying to do what I could to make it better than what I had, and make sure that my kids know I'm not going to abandon them or, like not believe them when they tell me things. And I was in no way was I, like I was a very rebellious teenager after what happened to me. I mean, it's, I have story after story. Yes, I was very rebellious, but that was because I should have been in treatment, getting counseling and help. And I wasn't. And it's not an excuse, but that's just so. I just did not want my kids to be like that. I wanted to do everything I could so that they don't have to have those horrible, horrible memories like I do. Nightmares. I still have nightmares. You just, and they come
Yeah.
randomly, and
But you're safe here. This is a
Yes,
safe
thank
place
you.
for you.
Yeah,
And I can change the subject if that would.
good. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think you
So
better
let me
before
go
I
back to the
ruin my
blue
makeup.
curtains. So here's what I realized today. I'm sewing these curtains. They're orange, like a coral color, a light pink color, a, a, a beautiful Tiffany blue color, and then the light blue I was talking about, and a gold color. This gorgeous gold color. So there are all these different panels, right? And I had this memory of like, oh my gosh, when we lived in New Wilmington, PA, the curtains. Did you know they starched their curtains and iron pleats? Like sie machen Falde.
We did. We did. We did too. Yipper. That was the rules.
And that's the thing though. It's like I lived in 5 different communities. I didn't live in just one. So like that was one. I don't remember what the curtains were like in Sugar Grove. I do remember that like in one community we were only allowed to have the blue curtains. In other communities we were only allowed to have white curtains. Like what is the deal with this? Like hold up. Like you're all like supposedly following the same rules here. So why do we have to iron the pleats and starch and iron the pleats and like oh my gosh, remember like the irons that we used that went on the stove and
I hated ironing. Oh, I hated ironing. Oh my goodness, it's the most boring thing. I refuse to iron now. I just never or wash dishes. I don't like to wash dishes at all.
so you follow my direction and
Yeah.
you get like the
Yeah.
stuff that's wrinkle free when you dry it.
Yes. I do.
That's my solution to that. I really do hate ironing. I only do it for like sewing purposes or for like really fancy clothes. The ones that are outlawed, those clothes.
Yeah. For pink curtains, yeah. My goodness. Oh my goodness, Mary. I don't know.
What?
Rebel.
These guys, these are actually purple curtains, by the way. I made those too. They're also lined. I don't think the bishop would approve of that either. They have a red lining.
See, I find it interesting. Sorry, that you like to sew. See, I almost dislike everything that I had to do growing up. I don't like sewing. I don't like cooking. I mean, baking is not bad, but I don't do it that much. I mean, I would have made a horrible Amish woman, I can tell you that, because I just don't like any of those things. I just like, and honestly, I think that it's probably because of what happened to me. You know what I mean? In a certain setting, that's why I just bought. I just don't like it. I don't like fishing anymore. Absolutely don't like fishing. I loved fishing when I was younger. I hate fishing. I do not go fishing. I don't. I don't like
Well,
the smell. I don't like anything about it. And if you think back, and if you've read my story, you'll probably understand the connection to
I
it.
know. Yep.
Mhm. So it's just one of those things, it's just, and maybe it's just part of healing, it's just, but especially,
Well,
I just don't like certain things.
I think that when you heal from certain things, so when you're a child, and you go through this trauma, like you have a physical injury to a developing brain,
Mm-hmm.
and so you never knew who you were because you don't remember anything. Like you don't remember not being abused, just like I don't remember not being abused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's a little bit liberating to be able to do some of the things that I loved doing, but have the freedom to have some kind of creative expression with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not making Amish clothes, and I'm most certainly not making Amish curtains. And I swear to you, if you ever see me bringing out the jug, remember the big jug of like Stay Flow starch, or like or like when you had to make the starch because you were out of that, and you see me doing that to curtains, please have me committed to a psych ward because I need it. Please. Please.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about, and maybe Elam has an input. I believe the reason, like when we talk about different communities, all have different rules, and really they're all slightly different, even in Schwarzentrooper communities. It really comes down to the bishop, whatever the bishop determines in that. But I believe it's also, they want everybody to be under so much of a, how do you call it? Like, so restricted that they don't even have to think for themselves, because everything this is the way it is. This is, you don't question me, you do as I say. And some people do that.
You do as I say and not as I do, right?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
We always said the bishop's children were the worst.
Yes.
Decent built.
Yeah, and sometimes they were. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I know our bishop's daughter. Okay, I gotta translate that. They're wild. The bishop's children are wild. But I know one bishop's daughter that like she got married, and then like 6 months after they were married, they had a baby, and then like 3 months later they went and tiene me.
They had to confess that takes longer than 6 months to have a baby.
To incubate a baby.
What do you mean? The Amish can do science, or?
Well, I guess they can count to 9.
Okay.
I know on some occasions in our area, they would sometimes try to say the baby was early. Because often in our area, like my grandmother was the midwife.
Yeah.
Or one of the midwives. I mean, there's a couple of them, but so they would sometimes try to say, well, the baby was just early, so the calculations, you don't quite come out. But the truth is, if you put 2 young teenagers who are dating and you allow them to do the courtship, the one that was in our community, I don't know why. Why they go to bed together. I mean, and there's no board in between. There's some misconception sometimes. There's no board in between.
No
I can tell you
that. Not only that, they have their special unarok.
Yeah.
Nightgown. I guess you call it a nightgown, but they have a
nightgown. Yeah, special nightgown that has sleeves on it.
And that usually they iron it before they wear it.
Yes,
I don't know why they iron it. Like, what is that all about?
I'm sure that boy doesn't notice that it's ironed. I can tell you that.
I'm sure they don't.
Oh goodness.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
that's I did. So when I went back to the Amish, so I did do some of that the dating, and it's just the Schwarzenegger Amish is completely different than what you hear. Like I know some people bring up like the Rumspringa years. We didn't. I mean, you didn't have that where you could go out and do basically what you want, get a car. No, you couldn't. I mean, it's to me when I
We
hear people,
couldn't do that either. I don't know what they're talking about.
no, yeah, we don't know what they're talking about when it's really, yeah. But I know there's communities like Indiana, communities that have that, but we did not. It was very, very strict, very strict, except, yeah, the bed courtship the way it was.
I mean, there's a whole bed courtship, but like, yeah. We have a whole bunch of comments. Would you like to hear
Well,
some
what are you
more?
hiding them for, Mary? Come on.
Yep.
So Sarah clarified she was talking about the perverts getting help and
Yeah.
all of that. Marlene says, the biggest harm is from your own family when they don't believe you. My mother blamed me for being raped. My aunt blamed my sister for being molested. Then the community expects you to forgive the perpetrator. Then the police will say that they can't prove anything because your story changes, and that is he said, she said. You are so alone. I'm so sorry, Marlene. I've experienced some of that. I'm so sorry.
And it's so horrible when your own mother, yeah, especially when it comes to your mom that blames you. I mean, or just doesn't believe you, or I think you somehow brought it on to yourself. I mean, so
yeah,
but yeah,
and it's like the ultimate betrayal to a child. Because this is a person you looked up to. This is a person you wanted to grow up and be like this person. This is a person you immensely loved. And they just abandon you. Lindsay says you're safe now. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Marlene asked what the name of your book is. It's Behind Blue Curtains. It's available on Amazon.
There you go. Gee, out come the books. It is on Amazon, and then you can also go to my website, Life Behind Blue Curtains, and there's a link on there. And that sometimes seems better. Some people have issues finding it on Amazon for whatever reason. And then now there are multiple like local stores in my area that are going to carry it, and then also in Ohio and Indiana, both places there's stores that are going to carry it. So if anybody needs to, they can reach out and to personally, and we can get them the list. But
I can put the links in the comments after we're done streaming.
Okay,
and then Marlene's talking about that extreme attention to nonsensical detail was the ultimate hochmut. She's saying this is prideful. Remember, if your shot spindle was quarter inch too thick. Yeah, du musst Ras machen, wieder machen.
Sorry, I remember I always got picked on for my shot spindle. There was always something wrong with it. Either it was
so your shots.
It was too tight or not tight enough or too wide.
It's too wide or too thin or. We should probably explain what a shot spindle is.
Okay, so it would be your apron string, basically what it would be. Yeah, like your apron strings is what it is, and they can't be too long. You know, it can't hang down. The ones you tie in the back, it can't hang down too far. My goodness, that would be odd.
If it hangs down, like it has, like there's a whole like list of rules, and then let's talk about the falda in the front of the apron.
I forget this stuff. If you would have told me, I could have had one because I have a lot of Amish clothes. I could have brought.
And then they also have rules about how far down on your apron the falda, the folds can be ironed into it.
There's rules for everything.
Oh my god! And the hem on the bottom of the apron has to be the right width too. And if any of that is like as little as a quarter of an inch out of the you might be getting a talking to by the deacon and the minister or even the bishop.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you're right, Marlene. That is totally prideful.
Okay.
Does a bishop like to come look through your
Well, that was one of my mom's pet peeves, is that she liked to have her curtains thick enough that if a buggy drove by, that they couldn't tell if the light was on, you know what I mean, or if they could see anything. Because my mama, she did not. She wanted people to stay out of her business. So, and that what they would complain if it was too thick. It was too like there was always something wrong with it. Yeah, she was very. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's you know, and the other thing is if it was made from the wrong fabric, you had to go get rid of those curtains and get a whole new fabric, and you had to spend the time and remake the curtains because, oh my God, it's just wrong.
Sinful.
The wrong shade, the
So,
wrong.
yeah, and going back to this question, so technically, does the bishop come and look through? I wouldn't say that the bishop does, but where we lived, in our case, we had very, very nosy neighbors, and our grandparents lived by, and they loved to come and spy and see what my mom was up to, or you know what I mean. She was an interesting person. So they, I feel like she felt like she had no privacy. And then the other fact, it's kind of in that same line is as an Amish person, you're really not allowed to lock your doors. You have to leave it open. And we did not. Nobody had to knock. They could just come walking right into our house at any time, day or night, without knocking. And I think that there's no privacy. I mean, you know what I mean? And I remember somebody telling me, now, if you ever go to an English house, you have to knock. And I was like, really? But we don't knock for everybody else in our community. So I don't know if any of you guys had that in your community, but ours is, it was like inappropriate to knock. You just barged right in.
Just depended. I remember some people knocking and some people not knocking.
Okay.
So, yeah, it just depended. What about you, Elam?
I actually am not sure if I can even remember. I think once I was an adult, we definitely would have knocked.
Okay.
As a kid, and of course that was family mostly. I'm thinking we probably didn't.
Yeah.
But I this is classic sort of cult issues where you have the idea that you have privacy means you have a self, and that's what cults try to do is to groom you to not have a self.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
I'm done.
You're done. I was gonna say, like, even the dishes in the Kishushank, those were like, if they were out of the Atnung, like you weren't allowed to have them in the kitchen cupboard. I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
You could talk. I mean, I wonder how thick a book somebody would write if you tried to put in just the rules that we had in our community. I mean, it's just literally have rules.
Right.
Everything. And I see somebody was asking if we were allowed to fish. Now, we were, in our area, we could fish if we wanted to. The girls, we never went by ourselves. We always went with somebody like our dad, or somebody. We went fishing. Eventually, as we got older, we could go with our cousins, and and we had a creek right by our house, so we just go down and fish down there sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, we used to go fishing in the Mississippi River.
Nice.
But yeah, it took a really long time for me to be able to enjoy fishing. I will be honest, like it probably took a good 15 years before I was able to enjoy fishing. And then I went in a different area where we weren't catching the same type of fish that we would catch. And so for the first time ever, I caught a trout.
Oh, wow.
It was delicious. But we didn't go trout fishing. We always caught panfish, bluegills, northerns. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Em said the bundling. This must have been when we were talking about the bundling.
Yeah.
Okay. The one woman I helped join the Amish, don't ask, it's a story. I can only imagine. Was attracted to it all because she thought the bed courting was fascinating, but she was more than willing to learn how to make cape dresses. I taught her. I don't think the bed courtship is fascinating. I think that's really a terrible, terrible thing.
Mm-hmm. But that is the whole. People are fascinated about the Amish.
Yeah.
There's a fascination about them, or a obsession really,
Yeah.
with how they are, and thanks to lots of books that have been written over the years, helping with this fascination about uh, what do you call them, fiction books that just feed into this thing, and it's just it
Well, and
completely
the
untruthful.
fiction books don't just feed into it. They actually create a narrative where the readers tend to take that narrative, even though it's fiction. I want to remind everybody those books are fiction.
Mhm.
Stop using those books to justify invalidating and gaslighting survivors and telling them that their story is not true because they don't align with the romance novels.
Mhm. Mhm. Very true. Mhm.
It's not okay to do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And also in regards to the bed courtship, if you read remember the Runaway, what is it, Runaway Amish
Mhm.
Girl by like Emma
Mhm.
Gingrich?
Yes. Mhm.
If you read that book, like that talks about the bed courtship and how uncomfortable it was and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You should
she's
probably think about that.
yeah. Emma's book is very good in describing much more than mine is, as far as an actual like kind of daily
Mhm.
life of Amish. And my book really is it really should come with a trigger warning, because it is not about um, like Elam reminded me when after he read it. It's not about. We didn't talk about food. We didn't talk about certain, just kind of that everyday daily life. It is about abuse. That's what it is about, and it's receiving justice at in the end, and that's what it's about. And it's not for everybody. And I say, if you want to read a book that is just sugarcoating the Amish and how they're all these good, wonderful people, then don't read my book, because that's not what it's about. It's not.
Yeah.
Pre-warning.
Yeah. Absolutely. I yeah. So here we have Marlene talking about, I was just having the apron conversation with my mother-in-law yesterday as I was helping her prepare Passover Seder yesterday. She told me to put on an apron. I was
Oh,
triggered.
trigger. Sorry.
Oh,
That.
remember we
Mhm,
used to have special aprons for the weddings.
mhm, mhm,
Do you remember that?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I was gonna say sometimes, yeah, Marlene, though, it's like sometimes it's like the weirdest thing will trigger you. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe somebody says it a certain way, and you're like, my goodness, what is, what made me,
Yeah.
think about that. And it's
And
just,
then you gotta figure it out. You gotta
mhm,
figure out
mhm,
what it was and
mhm,
kinda,
mhm,
try to move on from that
mhm,
and
mhm,
get back to your center of balance and find what brings you joy in life and
mhm.
continue.
Yeah, in the um, I see the time's running down very quickly. Maybe I better just let you guys ask a couple questions if you have any, or
Well, Lizzie, you
time.
talked about you don't like to do these things, cooking. I forget exactly what it was. Um, what do you like to do now that you're freer to become your own person? Got any good fun stuff?
Mhm. Yes, I love gardening and landscaping. That is my passion. That is what I love to do. I do. I love horses too, so I love horses and anything really out in the nature. I love. I love trees and flowers and all kinds of things like that. But yeah, that's really my passion is to work outside as much as I can. And I'm not a wonderful, amazing landscaper, but I love to do it, and I love to yeah. Flower gardening and vegetable gardening is wonderful, and thank goodness I can do that
Do
for
you do that for work?
I do. That is
Awesome,
That's
wonderful.
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
That's
I do
wonderful.
other things too. I still always say I do multiple things, but that is the main one that I really, really love to do. And I do some in-home care for patients too. But yeah, my passion lies in working plants and flowers and all kinds of things like that. So I love doing that.
You should You should get to meet my wife Janine sometime. She's a master gardener, and this time of year she goes a little. She starts
I think
stalking
he's full of it.
I love it.
She
I
starts
love
stalking the plant places.
Yep.
One
Oh
of them
yeah,
go-
I've already went. Yep.
Yeah.
And she
I
comes
work-
back and is angry that they're not open yet.
I work under a master gardener, so I haven't gotten that degree. I would love to maybe sometime, but she just has been so willing to teach me, and I love
That's
doing
amazing.
it.
Nice.
Hey, I have a question though, because we were talking and we were kind of talking about the weddings. When they do the weddings and they have the we gotta talk about this, Lizzy. We gotta talk about this because weddings are a huge, huge affair inside of Amish communities. Okay? They're a big deal. Are there any practices you want to talk about? Spiele?
Yeah. So in my book, I talk about a wedding that I went to, and this is Swartz and Trooper Amish wedding. And I've heard about it before, but never really, like my older cousins kind of told me about it, but I wasn't sure. But it's just this ridiculous game that gets played between young boys and girls that are in the union. They call it young folks. So anybody over 16 and a half, and they aren't married yet. The evening of the wedding, they have like this, usually it's like a wood house or some wash house or some place out back. And they all gather in there and they do this. I don't know. The best way to explain it, Mary, is they do like, wouldn't you say like they make a London bridge? Like it's a boy and a girl making a bridge. Yeah, something like that. It's going to be hard for me to demonstrate, but it is in the book, so you can read about it. But then, and then you,
It's
Mary's dying to talk about it. So
Why don't you talk about it, man?
well, see, but here's the thing: is like you will have grown men standing there and watching these underage girls go through this, and it's almost like they're getting their live
it's disgusting
pornography.
In my opinion, it's disgusting because it's only
disgusting.
It's the married men that are allowed to be out there and watch it. Technically, they're out there, whatever, supervising, or I don't know what they even call it.
Right, they're making sure there's no hanky-pinky.
Yeah, going on. That's what they're
but
saying.
Really, what are they really doing?
What are they really there for? And the other thing is then there's this, and I've only heard it on certain occasions. I don't know if it still is, but that certain wedding that I was at, there was this black room thing that they did. And to me, that's even more disgusting. So it was like this black room that they would take turns, and it would be a boy and a girl back in there for a certain amount of time. And there'd be the two hostler. I don't know how you say that in English.
The hostler. Isn't it like janitor? No.
I don't know. What would you call that, Elam? You're the smart one here.
Elam.
Yeah, right.
Help.
Well, I think what our hostler did was they sort of took care of the chores. They put the horses away, but they would have been ours would have been.
And then they took around the thing for money.
There was money. Damn. But I think it's this pretty vulgar thing that you describe, and I've heard of it. It wasn't a thing in Lancaster. It particularly obscene that these people are sort of coerced in it, and the young people are sort of coerced into doing this, and it's being supervised by, as you describe it, by adult, older, married men. It just it just screams of abuse and this sort of surrendering of personhood for the young people, especially the girls.
I would say especially the girls, yeah. And I remember, like, and she said now they're called ushers. I remember, like, I was even at a wedding in another state, and I did not want to go. And like the ushers, they will literally come and drag you to those things, and then eventually they pair you up. boy and girl, and you go into this, they call it the midnight table.
Mhm.
And you're also, again, forced to sit next to a boy that, you know, in
You
that
don't
case,
know. Well,
no, you don't
a
know.
boy. Well, first off, they either do it. We Everyone that I went to, like they did it like you would have boy, girl, boy. So
Mhm.
you were forced to sit next to two smelly boys. Ugh, ugh.
Okay,
I think I threw up in my mouth a little bit here.
I forgot about that. Yes, and it's just it's a yeah
Yeah.
It's very illustrative of this patriarchal society where the image that, at least the popular image, is that these, like, just joining church is a choice, and of course it's not. But that description of what you're talking about is so illustrative of a situation where they're not choosing, they're completely um
Yeah.
they're just being it's they have no control, and whether they want to participate, or it's not their thing, it's they're being manipulated. And talk about grooming for loss of personhood. That's it right there. And everybody just goes along with it.
Yep. So they really do. I think we're coming up on time. We should probably think about our parting thoughts for our listeners. You got anything, Elam?
Well, they should buy Lizzie's book and give it to all their friends. And here's a thing: buy it and put it in your local library wherever you are.
Yep.
Buy it and put it in your local library.
And I wanted to say, and I don't think I've said this in any of the other interviews I've done, is that 10% of all the book proceeds will go back. I'm giving those back to whatever resources that I to help further educate or help victims or anything like that. And I think I just want people to know that this book, it is telling my story, but I'm still trying to help others, even in as far as profits go, that it will go back to giving back to whatever I can to help others in need. So thank you for that. And yeah, I appreciate everybody. Yes. And like I said, if some people read it, it really should have a trigger warning. Some people, it won't take some people really long to read it, but you might want to just take some time, especially if you've suffered trauma and severe, abuse, because it could be, very difficult on you. And sometimes I feel, it's just, I feel sad sometimes when I hear the reviews and the people are sharing their stories, but yet, I just want them to know that there is help out there and that you can overcome. And there's many of us here to help each other, lift each other up and move on and do what we can to help others.
I just want to say that imagine if when you were 17, 18, as you're leaving, both of you, as you're leaving, what would it meant to you if you could have read a book or listened to this program back then of survivors talking about
Stop it,
this?
Elam. You're gonna make people cry. Stop. That's not nice. We're supposed to end on a good note.
Oh,
It would have meant immensely. Like there are no words for what it would have meant.
because
Because
there
there
were
was
none.
nobody. It was literally like just people who reached out and helped me in whatever ways they could, and the victim witness advocate. And other than that, everybody and everything I knew was gone.
Because you leave with nothing. And then the community that you're this horrible person for leaving. I mean, it's just it's it's a tremendous step if somebody decides to leave their community, and especially under certain circumstances like me and Mary did. But I just want people to know there's help out there. Just reach out, everybody. There's help in lots of different states of different programs and different things. So
Yep. There's a
lots
lot
of them. And somebody said something about that ACE.
Yep.
So that's on, just Google it. And we'll try to put some resources in here, because I can't believe we are out of time.
Yes, we are out of time.
Thank you so much for having me. I know I've been looking forward to doing this, and maybe we'll see if Mary decides to do another one sometime, and then we'll go from there.
We can talk more about the weddings. There's a lot more about the weddings than just that. But that part was really important.
Yes.
Thank you, Elam, for being here, and thank you, Lizzy, for coming here. I want people to know how much your book really needed to be written. That story needed to be told. I'm immensely so proud and humbled that you were able to come here with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. How do I shut?